Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. AI leaders headed to Washington last week to urge lawmakers to change tack on AI regulation. On Friday, Sam Altman testified alongside Microsoft President Brad Smith, AMD CEO Lisa Su, and CoreWeave CEO Michael Intrater before the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. Now, the tenor of this conversation was very different than some of the hearings we had back in 2023. The big theme was absolutely acceleration, with AI leaders asking for fast tracks for data center construction, power plant deployment, and even training of electricians. Sam Altman said, "I believe the next decade will be about abundant intelligence and abundant energy. Making sure that America leads in both of those, that we are able to usher in these dual revolutions that will change the world we live in incredibly positive ways is critical." And indeed, as you might imagine, competition with China loomed large in the hearing, with the AI leaders encouraging a shift in viewpoint. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang recently said the world of AI fundamentally changed this year due to Chinese technology catching up quickly. Microsoft's Brad Smith reinforced this view, stating that the US needs to continue innovating because AI is, quote, a race that no company or country can win by itself. He encouraged the government to focus on infrastructure rather than regulation, stating, innovation will go faster with more infrastructure, faster permitting, and more electricians. Altman commented, as AI systems become more capable, people will want to use them even more. Meeting that demand requires more chips, training data, energy, and supercomputers. Infrastructure is destiny, and we need a lot more of it. AMD's Su emphasized that the US must lead at every layer of the AI stack. In a somewhat pointed reference to NVIDIA's proprietary CUDA ecosystem, she said, I think open ecosystems are really a cornerstone of US leadership, and that allows ideas to come from everywhere in every part of the innovation sector. It's reducing barriers to entry and strengthening security, as well as creating a competitive marketplace for ideas. The main point of the hearing was to discuss what should come next after the Trump administration declined to enforce the Biden-era diffusion rule, which would have ramped up export controls on chips. Republicans made it clear that the administration would prefer a market-driven response rather than regulating AI. However, there was tension in the isolationist style of the administration set against the need to attract top talent and spread US-made AI throughout the globe. Smith said, we need faster adoption, what people refer to as AI diffusion. The ability to put AI to work across every part of the American economy to boost productivity, to boost economic growth, to enable people to innovate in their work. If America is going to lead the world, we need to connect with the world. Our global leadership relies on our ability to serve the world with the right approach and on our ability to sustain the trust of the rest of the world. He argued that the Biden diffusion rule had, quote, sent a message to 120 nations that they couldn't count on us to provide the AI they want and need. Many noted just how different the tenor of the conversation had been between 2023 and 2025. Tom Simonite from the Washington Post said that in 2023, Sam Altman had told Congress that a new agency should be created to require licenses for powerful AI models, while 2025, Sam Altman told Congress that requiring licenses for powerful AI models would be, quote, disastrous. Then again, commenter Joe Bhakti noted that we now have a case study to inform his view, writing one big recurring theme: how do we make sure the failures that have destroyed European tech are not repeated here? Now, speaking of AI and geopolitics, the US Treasury is reviewing Benchmark's investment into the company behind the Manus agent. You might remember that late last month, Bloomberg reported that Benchmark Ventures had led a $75 million fundraising round that valued the company Butterfly Effect at $500 million. The news was weird to many at the time, with a prominent American venture firm appearing on the cap table alongside Tencent as AI Cold War tensions grew. Under a Biden-era executive order that came into force this year, firms are required to report to the Treasury on investments in key areas such as AI that could, quote, accelerate and increase the success of the development of sensitive technologies. Semaphore reports that Benchmark's lawyers believed that the investment wouldn't come under scrutiny, and the firm declined to report. The logic was reportedly that the startup wasn't developing foundation models, but rather a so-called wrapper for other models. The argument being that an agentic wrapper doesn't meaningfully advance AI capabilities in China. The lawyers also concluded the company wasn't technically Chinese by virtue of being incorporated in the Cayman Islands and having employees in the US, Singapore, Japan, and China. Other investors were not buying it. Josh Wolf of Lux Capital said that the investment makes zero sense, and Delian Asparov of Founders Fund wrote, I'm not saying Benchmark partners are Chinese assets, but they are definitely assets to China. Turns out that careful corporate structure didn't dissuade the Treasury from taking a closer look. Sources say that Benchmark is likely to echo their legal advice and claim they had no duty to report the investment. Semaphore wrote, Benchmark may have a legitimate argument for why its Manus investment in the U.S. interest. $75 million isn't enough to do much in AI research these days, but it should still be vetted for possible national security implications. The fact that the firm chose not to initially notify the Treasury Department of its investment in Manus suggests there's something wrong with the process. Now, why this is worth paying attention to outside of the specifics of the investment is that this could become a proxy for how the administration is going to treat the flow of capital into Chinese startups, even if their mailing address is technically in the Caymans. Lastly today, the new pope apparently chose his name in reference to the challenges of the AI revolution and the era that it represents. On Thursday of last week, the white smoke billowing out of St. Peter's Basilica signaled that a new pontiff had been selected. His papal name, Leo XIV, was widely suspected to be a reference to the last pope going by that name, who led the Catholic faith during the late 1800s. Pope Leo confirmed the reference, seeing the parallels between that time of upheaval and the challenges of the current moment. He said, "I chose to take the name Leo XIV. There are different reasons for this, but mainly because Pope Leo XIII addressed the social question in the context of the First Great Industrial Revolution. In our own day, the Church offers to everyone the treasury of her social teachings in response to another industrial revolution and to developments in the field of artificial intelligence that pose new challenges for the defense of human dignity, justice, and labor." Cardinal Chomali commented, "He told me he is very concerned about the cultural shifts we are living through. A Copernican revolution, really. Artificial intelligence, robotics, human relationships." He was inspired by Leo XIII, who in the midst of the Industrial Revolution wrote Rerum Novarum, launching an important dialogue between the Church and the modern world. Now, it is definitely the case that the Catholic Church has paid close attention to the development of AI over the past few years, both in harnessing the technology to transcribe the Vatican's archives, as well as facilitating conversations about the ethical implications of the tech. What's clear is that by referencing the Pope of the Industrial Revolution, Leo XIV is signaling his intention to be involved in the discussion as AI reshapes society. Leo XIII criticized both militant socialism and laissez-faire capitalism, avoiding the extremes of the political moment of the late 1800s and instead advocating for a human-centric view. He promoted both trade unions as a protection for the worker, alongside the right to property and free enterprise as fundamental elements of human dignity. Gary Marcus writes, "The Pope gets it. The most important question about AI isn't a technical question. The most important question is about how to maintain and grow a just society in the age of AI." That, however, is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.